Okay, so a very fine morning to you. This is Clyde with PT3D, and I apologize that the stream's a little glitchy, but today we're going to focus on the Chiron. The Anycubic Chiron has experienced a problem that I had mentioned previously. This was back when I first did the unboxing and assembly of the Chiron, where I was talking about the heated build plate having some potential for failure. Well, and this is not going to be a long stream, so please bear with me. This is mostly just kind of for vlogging purposes, just to kind of show, what's going on, and maybe somehow you might be able to fix it yourself if the need ever arises. I have put in a request to the folks at Anycubic to see if that's something that we could fix. They asked me to run a continuity test, and I told them the wire was broken, so there's really not a test that I can do that's going to show anything other than infinite unless I jiggle the wires. And I will show you the wires in just a couple seconds. Well, in a couple minutes. First, though, I think what we're going to do is we're going to read. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our nippers, our wire strippers, and we're going to strip these because that is going to be ideal. So we'll get them taken care of. Sorry, you don't get to see my pretty face today. And hey, Don. And I apologize for streaming while Ricky's streaming, but this is something I have very limited time for. So I needed to get started on this as quickly as possible. So that is the point. I didn't even set this up as a Google Hangout because honestly, I just realized that, I have the cables I need to affect the repairs, and I really need this machine running. So I apologize. I should be more prepared. I forgot to grab my Phillips head. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you where it was routed before, and then I'm going to show you where I'm going to route it. This is the so-called positive, which really doesn't overly matter because it's not really a positive wire. Well, it is, and it isn't. Whew, look at that sucker. They did tin that, so give them credit for that. This is a bigger gauge wire that I'm using, so I'm going to have to open this up quite a bit more. And this is actually the power on the MOSFET. So we are going to put that in directly to the MOSFET. This is not an ideal angle to be doing this, but there is some, I don't know what that is. See if we can get it in there. Yeah, it feels like we got it in there. So we are going to tighten that whilst making sure we are securely holding it in place. Oh, Matt, I will cut the blue wire. And then I won't have a stepper motor just running. Because I can't just cut one. It's like a Pringle or a Lay's potato chip. I can't remember which one those are. All right, let's check it. Oh, that's in there nice and snug. All right, so now we're going to remove the black wire, which again, this part shouldn't matter, I don't believe. I know it does show positive and negative on these, but well. All right, so we've got both power leads removed, and we are going to install this one. The fun times must go on. Actually, overall, though, other than this minor snafu, this has actually been a really good printer. The downside is that now I'm going to have to level this entire bed, as you will see. I'm not going to do that right now. Honestly, don't have the time. I really just wanted to get this wiring put through. I'm going to run it through this spot here. So where you can see this comes down through here now. And I will be zip tying it right here just to do a little cable maintenance. So we're going to do that real quick, because it doesn't do us any good to put undue pressure there if we can avoid it. So there's these vents, which make great securing mechanisms for cables like this. And what I usually do is I start by well, you can sort of see it. I'm going through the vents right there. And I'm just going to tighten this down just a little bit, get the position right. So that's the correct position that I want. Loosen it up just a tiny bit, and then bring it home. Okay, so that part's done. So you see this, there's not a huge amount of pressure there. It's enough that I'm not worried that it's pulling, so I can push on these and they still wiggle. So not bad. So we're gonna clip the excess off. I'm careful not to nick the shielding on the wire, because that would be counterproductive. Could be the red wire too, Don. All right, so there is a penetration right here. You can see it's been cut into the frame of the brain module. So it's right there. I don't know if you can really see that, but there's not really much perspective there. The only thing I got to do now is right here, they've pasted a lot of hot glue to keep this fitting from coming out. And you can see just how tight this thing is stretched. It is stretched quite tight. So what I'm going to try and do is wiggle that just a little and see if I can't get the glue to come off of it. Hot glue is a good thing at times. I don't know that I necessarily would have done hot glue here, but they did. Okay, so there we go. That's the thermistor cable. And I mean, look how tight that is. I mean, there was absolutely no slack there whatsoever. So again, that's problematic. All right, so this is the entire assembly for the build plate. So I'm going to try and squeeze it through where the power supply is here. Take note that there was not a lot of play there. That shielding is pinched right into there. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking it out and we're going to lay it there. And then I'm going to try to do is bring this wire back here and run it through here as well. So we're going to plug that back in. Again, I don't know if this is going to work right, but we are going to give it a shot, because I think that at this point, what was done didn't work, and what I'm going to do hopefully will work. So good. So let's put this cover back on, because I really don't need the wires moving around on me. Supposed to be somewhat. And like I said, Ricky, when you see this later, if you see this later, I apologize for streaming while you're streaming, but I will be watching your stream in a little bit once I get through with this little project. All right. Hey, Trolling, how you doing, buddy? Sorry, I was staring at the this chassis here, trying to get these screws in. All right, so again, when you're putting stuff back together like this, I recommend that you leave the screws a little loose prior to installation completely. That allows the screws to go in as straight as possible prior to cinching them down the rest of the way. Because not everything is machined equally, and as you know, you really don't want to cross thread. So, with that being said, these are all in, so I can tighten them now. You know, the sad part is that I'm going to end up having to flip this thing on its side again, but for now, it's going to be laying on its base. So we're going to see if we got enough length out of the thermistor, or whether or not this has been for naught. Because, like I said, the power wire is the one that's broken. It's not the thermistor. And I will show you how I spotted that. Which is funny because one of my friends here walked into the lab earlier to say hi when I walked in. And he goes, well, that is definitely a broken wire. So if he can see it from 6 feet away, I'm questioning whether or not there's any validity in actually doing a continuity test at all. So this is going to be a two-part process because I don't have a second pair of hands to do this with. So I'm going to try to lay it kind of gently as much as I can. Lay this here, sort of stable. This is not a stable process. Put this over here for a second. All right, let's see where the legs are. All right. Now I'm in even worse of a position to see what you guys are saying. Okay, coffee. Check. Monitor. Must move it so I can see. All right. So what can you see? What can't you see? Okay, so you can see here pretty well. So I'm thinking I want to reroute these cables from where they are now. Put this pad underneath here so you can see, if you can see. This does feel like I got some more slack, so that's good. What's not good, though, is that I'm on the wrong side of the belt. I needed to be on that side of the belt. So I'm going to have to desolder these lines and these leads anyway. So that's not really a big deal. I'm not going to do that right now because that would just be silly. And I don't have the time. But what I can do is come down here. I'd really like you to see this because this is kind of the most important thing to spot. The way this build plate is set up, let's see if I got it. Yeah, I got a good angle. Is, as you can tell, it was kind of cinched down like this. So it really, but they had it so tight with the other zip tie that it just didn't work right. So what it did is, if you look right here, look at this wire. You should not be able to get a 90-degree bend in a silicone wire. Okay, it should always bend like this. See, it's kind of gives itself a little radius. So when you see this, you can pretty much guarantee that wire is busted. Other one over here, again, it's not quite broken through, but it's definitely not doing well. So it looks like the red wire is the one that took most of the strain. If you wiggle it, I don't know. Here, let me see if you can hear this. That crackling, if you can hear it, is where the wires have completely broken across. So I can actually go like this, and those wires are not connected. See? So you let go, pull on it, those wires are disconnected. There's only shielding in between these wires right now, where my finger is. So that is not, that's not good. So they wanted me to do a resistance test on this. So I'm going to email them back and just say infinite, because at this point, there is no connection there. It is infinite. So what I'm going to have to do is take the soldering iron and try to gently desolder this. When you use a soldering iron on these pads, you have to remember that these are designed to spread heat across the build plate. Okay, so that means the heat's going to dissipate fairly quickly if you don't have a highly focused area of heat on the soldering iron. So keep that in mind. Also, make sure that when you're done, you route your cables correctly. So what I'm going to have to do is move the thermistor cable to this side of the belt. I can do that with this because, well, this is already there. And once it's done, I can lay it down on the down here. And if I really want to, I have some wire wrap, like this stuff Don was using on his channel the other day. And I could just kind of wrap it real quick just to keep it all together so it's not spreading out too much. Or you could go the easy route and just get like some of this, which is the wrap that was on this cable. That's how I had to pull it apart to figure out which wire was busted. And when I tapped it, I could feel kind of where the break was when the shielding was on. But you can reuse this shielding if you don't kill it too much. And what you could do is you can actually use it as an insulator. So you could use this or, black tape. This doesn't leave a residue though. So you can actually wrap this and then take a zip tie and that'll keep these bundled together nicely. So just repurposing, reusing stuff. I'm also planning on keeping this much straighter than it is right now. So I'm going to try and when I see how much slack I have, I'm going to try and zip tie to the post. I don't know if that's going to work or not. I may have to replace the thermistor. If I have to, I will. Because this is just a cable that I have to replace. So I may just do an inline splice on this instead, because this is a very low voltage. There's nothing high voltage about this. So doing an inline splice is probably not a big deal, especially if I'm going to have the, the shrink tubing handy anyway. So, but that's where we're at today. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot of time to work on this today. I just really wanted to kind of get this out there. So if you have a Chiron, you can look at that, make sure that you don't have that same issue. It could be that the QC or whoever put this together was a little overzealous and just zip tied it a little too snugly. So when this bed has been moving back and forth, it's been creating a kind of a chafe point against the zip tie. The zip ties they use are very much like this. They're not very wide. So, that over time, that's going to act like a knife if you've got a bend right up against it. So, again, I'm going to try and talk to Anycubic, ask them if there's, what their suggestion is. My hopes would be that they would send me a new bed, because this is their error, not mine. But I'm also realistic. I have work I need to do, and I know that they will not be watching this video anytime soon because they have too much stuff to do. So inline splice, if it's good enough for NASA, it's good enough for me. Nice, Matt. I like that. No, I like Matt said too. The inline splice is a really great option for anything that's low voltage. I would not do an inline splice on the power wire. Okay, so don't do that. I would print a cable release for the corner there and zip tie the cables after done with soldering. I agree with you, Don. I have to figure out a method to do that because, yeah, that's not it. Yeah, it's a good idea, but I don't know how well that's going to work because this is basically the thickness of borosilicate build glass, and it's a full surface. So I don't want to interfere with that. So what I might be able to do is right here on this post, I might be able to 3D print the bracket that comes out, and then have it guide this way, hold it in place, and then bring that bend around. Either way, this is a much heavier gauge, so it's going to work much better anyway. I think they were using a 14. I'm using a 12. Or they were using a 16 and I'm using a 14. But either way, it's a full gauge higher than the stuff they were using. Let me see what this is. This is 12 gauge. So they were using either 14 or 16 on theirs. Yeah, I could look at the one for the CR10. So anyway, that's really all I had today. I just wanted to show you guys kind of what to look out for. This doesn't just apply to the CR10 either. You'll probably see this on other printers as well. You know, the CR10 does have a cable management system that kind of goes out behind it, but it is not without its flaws. There's also the guide chain and the guide cable, and anyway, there's a whole lot of things that you can improve on these things. And you're always going to have some form of chafing. So, but this is also another opportunity for me to get under here. Let me show you real quick before I get off. Underneath here, you see these wheels that are down here. Some of these wheels are touching, some of them are not. So this is a really good opportunity for me to get through and fix all these real quick while the build plate's off. And yeah, everything should be back to running either today or tomorrow. So, but yes, always try to keep an eye out on when you're doing stuff like, this kind of thing. We're going to have issues. I mean, that's the issue with 3D printing today. So, yeah, anyway, thanks for you guys watching. This was a really quick video. I was not intending anything long, so we'll see if we can't come up with a better mousetrap for this. Until then, I appreciate you guys hanging out, and I will be on again. I will be kind of lingering around in different chats and stuff. I just kind of wanted to get this out there. So appreciate you hanging out. Appreciate you watching, and you guys have a great day.